TV soap news and spoilers say taught Nicole's shattered world, unraveling her son's secret in Beyond the Gates. The air hung heavy with unspoken truths in the opulent yet suffocating confines of the Harrington estate, where Nicole Harrington, a woman of poise and resilience, stood on the precipice of a revelation that would shatter her world. The sprawling mansion, with its marble floors and crystal chandeliers, had always been a sanctuary of order and elegance for Nicole. A testament to the life she had meticulously built with her husband, Ted, and their son, Martin. But on this fateful evening, as the golden hues of sunset bled into twilight, the facade of her perfect life began to crumble, exposing a darkness she could never have imagined. Nicole had always prided herself on her intuition, her ability to sense the undercurrents of her family's emotions. Martin, her only child, had been distant in recent years, his once bright eyes clouded with a quiet unease that she attributed to the pressures of young adulthood. She had watched him grow from a precocious boy into a brooding young man, his silences growing longer, his smiles rarer. But she had never suspected that beneath his guarded exterior lay a secret so monstrous it would unravel the very fabric of their family. It was Anita, Ted's longtime colleague and a close family friend, who delivered the devastating blow. The two women sat in the dimly lit parlor, the crackle of the fireplace the only sound breaking the oppressive silence. Anita's face, usually warm and composed, was etched with a grim determination as she prepared to unveil the truth. Nicole, sensing the weight of the moment, felt her heart quicken, her fingers tightening around the delicate stem of her wine glass. "Nicole," Anita began, her voice low but steady, "there's something you need to know about Martin. Something that happened 2 years ago." Nicole's breath caught in her throat. 2 years ago. Her mind raced, sifting through memories of that time, Martin's sudden withdrawal, his late-night disappearances, the hushed conversations between him and Ted that always stopped when she entered the room. She had dismissed it all as teenage rebellion, perhaps a phase exacerbated by the pressures of their high-profile life in the gated community of Willow Creek, the setting of the drama Beyond the Gates. But Anita's words carried a gravity that suggested something far more sinister. "What are you talking about?" Nicole asked, her voice trembling despite her efforts to remain composed. Her perfectly manicured nails dug into her palms as she braced herself. Anita leaned forward, her eyes locking onto Nicole's with an intensity that made the room feel smaller, the walls closing in. "It was a night in October, 2 years ago," she began. "Martin was out with some friends, kids from the community, you know, the usual crowd. But things got out of hand. There was an altercation, a fight that went too far. Martin, he killed a man, Nicole. And another was left disfigured, barely clinging to life." The word struck Nicole like a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. Her wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the hardwood floor, the crimson liquid pooling like blood against the polished grain. Killed a man? Her Martin? The boy who used to cling to her skirts, who cried when he found an injured bird in the garden? It was unthinkable, a nightmare from which she could not wake. How do you know this?" Nicole stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Her mind reeled, grasping for any shred of logic to anchor her in this storm of disbelief. "You weren't there. You couldn't have seen it." Anita's expression softened, but the weight of her words remained unrelenting. "I wasn't there, no. But Ted was. He told me everything, Nicole. He was the one who operated on the survivor, the man Martin left scarred beyond recognition. Ted performed the reconstructive surgery, trying to piece together what was left of that poor man's face. He's been carrying this burden ever since, keeping it from you to protect you, and to protect Martin." The revelation that Ted, her husband of 20 years, had known about their son's crime and chosen to keep her in the dark was a betrayal that cut deeper than the initial shock. Nicole's vision blurred with tears, her chest tightening as she struggled to process the magnitude of the deception. Ted, the man she had trusted implicitly, had not only concealed their son's horrific actions but had also played a role in covering them up. The image of him in the operating room, his skilled hands working to repair the damage Martin had wrought, filled her with a sickening mixture of rage and despair. Why? Nicole's voice broke, a raw edge of anguish cutting through the word. Why didn't anyone tell me? I'm his mother. I had a right to know. Anita reached out, her hand hovering uncertainly before resting on Nicole's trembling shoulder. They thought they were protecting you, she said softly. Ted, Martin, even the others who knew, they believed that telling you would destroy you. They wanted to shield you from the truth, to keep the family intact. But Nicole, this isn't about what the family looks like to the outside world. It's about Martin. It's about keeping him safe, giving him a chance to move forward. Move forward? Nicole's laugh was bitter, devoid of humor. My son is a murderer, Anita. He took a life, disfigured another, and you're telling me to let him move forward? What about the man he killed? What about his family? What about the man who has to live with the scars Martin gave him? Her voice rose, each word laced with a fury that had been simmering beneath her carefully curated composure. Anita remained silent, her eyes reflecting a mix of sympathy and resolve. She knew there was no easy answer, no way to soften the blow of a truth so brutal. Nicole stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor as she began to pace the room, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The opulence of the parlor, the velvet drapes, the antique furniture, the family portraits lining the walls, felt like a mockery of the chaos now consuming her. Every detail of her life, so carefully constructed, was unraveling before her eyes. The night of the incident, as Anita had described it, played out in Nicole's mind like a vivid, torturous film. She imagined Martin, his face contorted with rage or fear, she couldn't decide which, as he lashed out, his actions irreversible. She pictured the victim, a man whose name she didn't yet know, crumpling to the ground, his life extinguished in an instant. And the other, the survivor, his face mangled, his future forever altered by her son's hands. The images were unrelenting, each one a dagger to her heart. But the pain didn't end there. As Nicole grappled with the horror of Martin's actions, another wound festered beneath the surface, Ted's infidelity. Anita hadn't mentioned it, but Nicole had known for months about his affair with Leslie, a nurse at the hospital where Ted worked. She had chosen to ignore it, convincing herself that it was a fleeting indiscretion, that their marriage was strong enough to weather it. But now, in the wake of this new betrayal, the affair took on a darker significance. Ted hadn't just hidden Martin's crime, he had hidden a part of himself, a part of their life together. The man she had loved, the man she had trusted, was a stranger. Nicole stopped pacing, her gaze falling on a framed photograph of Martin as a child, his gap-toothed smile beaming up at her from a happier time. She wanted to scream, to shatter the frame against the wall, to demand answers from the boy who no longer existed. But instead, she sank onto the couch, her body trembling as sobs racked her frame. Anita moved to her side, offering quiet comfort, but Nicole barely registered her presence. Her world had collapsed, and she was left to sift through the wreckage. In the days that followed, Nicole's life became a blur of anguish and indecision. She confronted Ted, her voice icy with rage as she demanded the truth. He admitted everything, Martin's crime, the cover-up, the surgery, even the affair with Leslie. His apologies were hollow, his excuses feeble in the face of her devastation. I thought I was protecting you, he said, his voice breaking. I thought I was protecting all of us. But protection, Nicole realized, was a lie. There was no shielding her from this pain, no way to undo what had been done. Martin, too, faced her wrath, his eyes downcast as he mumbled apologies, unable to meet her gaze. I didn't mean for it to happen, he said, his voice barely audible. It was an accident, Mom. I swear. An accident. The word echoed in Nicole's mind, a cruel mockery of the life that had been lost, the lives that had been irrevocably changed. She wanted to believe him, to cling to the image of the boy she had raised, but the truth was a chasm too wide to bridge. Her son was a stranger, and she was a mother adrift in a sea of grief and betrayal. As the weeks turned into months, Nicole struggled to find a path forward. The gated community of Willow Creek, once a symbol of her success, became a prison, its manicured lawns and smiling neighbors a constant reminder of the facade she had lived behind. She considered leaving, starting anew somewhere far from the memories that haunted her, but the thought of abandoning Martin, flawed and broken as he was, kept her rooted in place. Therapy became her lifeline, a space where she could unravel the tangled threads of her emotions. She spoke of her anger, her guilt, her fear that she had failed as a mother. She wrestled with the question of forgiveness. Could she forgive Martin for what he had done? Could she forgive Ted for his lies? And most importantly, could she forgive herself for not seeing the signs, for letting things spiral so far out of control? The community, too, began to whisper. Rumors of Martin's actions spread like wildfire, fueled by half-truths and speculation. Nicole felt the weight of their judgment, the sidelong glances at charity events, the hushed conversations that stopped when she entered a room. In Beyond the Gates, the drama of their lives played out for all to see, a spectacle of scandal and heartbreak that captivated audiences and tore at Nicole's soul. Yet amid the chaos, there were moments of clarity. Nicole began to see that her family's unraveling was not just a tragedy but an opportunity to rebuild, to confront the truths they had buried, to forge a new path forward. She demanded transparency from Ted, insisting that they face their issues together or not at all. She sat with Martin, listening to his account of that fateful night, trying to understand the boy who had made such a catastrophic choice. And slowly, painfully, she began to piece together a new understanding of herself, not as the perfect wife and mother, but as a woman capable of facing unimaginable pain and emerging stronger. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges that would test her resilience. Would she stay with Ted, or would his betrayals prove too much to overcome? Could she help Martin find redemption, or would his actions define him forever? And what of her own heart, battered but still beating, yearning for a way to heal? As the sun set over Willow Creek, casting long shadows across the Harrington estate, Nicole stood at the window, her reflection a ghost in the glass. The world outside was quiet, but within her, a storm raged, a storm of grief, anger, and hope. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe TV soap news and spoilers for more updates on Beyond the Gates.